Let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked at your financial reports and actually understood what they were telling you? Not just glanced at the profit number or your bank balance, but really knew what those numbers meant for your business, for your cash flow, your decisions, your next steps. Because here's the truth. Most service entrepreneurs think they have a money problem, but what they really have is a clarity problem. They don't have the right foundations in place, the systems, structure, and visibility to actually trust their numbers. And that's what today's episode is all about. We're diving into the first strategy in the Master Your Numbers milestone, reset your foundations, and unpacking why your numbers matter more than you think. So let's start with a bit of honesty. Most service business owners didn't start their business because they love spreadsheets. You started because you were great at what you do. Maybe you're a designer, consultant, marketer, or coach, and you wanted freedom, flexibility, and impact. But as the business grows, suddenly you're juggling invoices, expenses, payroll, tax, cash flow. And somehow, looking at the numbers becomes this chore you avoid until the accountant chases you. Sound familiar? Here's the problem with that. When you don't have a handle on your numbers, your business decisions are emotional instead of intentional. You price based on what feels right. You hire because you're desperate. You spend because you're hopeful. And before long, your business is running you, not the other way round. Resetting your financial foundations is about flipping that script. It's about moving from guessing to knowing. So what does this actually mean to reset your foundations? It's not about fancy dashboards or financial degrees. It's about building clarity and confidence into the way you run your business. There are 3 key pieces to this. The first piece is structure. You need a setup that gives you visibility. Your chart of accounts, categories, and systems should be designed for decision making, not just for tax. If your reports make no sense to you, it's not because you're bad with numbers. It's because your setup isn't serving you. The next piece is systems. So good systems create consistency. That means automations for invoices and expenses, regular money meetings, and a rhythm for reviewing performance. It's about taking the stress and guesswork out of your finances. And the last piece is standards. Every successful business has financial standards. The key numbers they track, the benchmarks you measure against, and the boundaries that protect your profit and cash. Without standards, it's easy to drift, and drift leads to chaos. When these 3 pieces are all in place, you stop reacting and start leading. You can finally trust your numbers because you know they're accurate, up-to-date, and meaningful. Now, before we go any further, I just want to bust a few myths that keep service entrepreneurs stuck when it comes to their numbers. The first one, and this is one I hear all the time, is I'm just not a numbers person. I hear it all the time, and it's simply not true. You don't have to love numbers. You just have to understand what they're telling you. Think of it like learning the basics of a new language. You don't need to be fluent, you just need to know enough to navigate confidently. The next myth, another goodie, my accountant handles that. Your accountant plays an important role, but their job is usually to report what has happened, not to tell you what's going to happen. If they're only taking care of compliance and the past, you're missing half the picture. Because what you also need is someone who helps you understand your business, your numbers, and how to proactively plan for the future. That's the difference between financial reporting and financial leadership. And the last one, again, it's a goodie. If there's money in the bank, I'm fine. This one is just straight up dangerous. Your bank balance is a moment in time, not a full picture. It doesn't account for future commitments, delayed invoices, or upcoming tax bills. That's why businesses with great sales can still end up with zero cash. The truth is, your numbers don't limit you, they liberate you. When you know how to read them, you stop feeling powerless and start feeling in control. That's the mindset shift that fuels everything that comes next. So let's talk about why your numbers are more powerful than you realize. And this is where it gets exciting. Your numbers are not just compliance tools. They're decision-making tools. They tell a story of where you've been, where you are, and where you're heading. When you understand that story, you can spot issues before they become emergencies, identify which clients or services are actually profitable, know exactly when you can afford to hire, expand, or take a break, and make choices that align with your bigger vision, not just your next invoice. That's why I always say your numbers don't define your success, they help you design it. The moment you stop avoiding them, everything changes, because clarity breeds confidence, and confidence breeds better decisions, the kind that create more profit and more freedom. So just let me share a quick client story. A few months ago, I was working with a service entrepreneur who was constantly stressed about cash flow. Revenue looked healthy, it was in the mid-six figures, but there was never enough in the bank. When we reset their foundations, we discovered three big things. Their reports were set up for their accountant, not for them. They weren't separating out tax or paying themselves properly, and they were making decisions based on their bank balance, not their real cash position. Once we cleaned that up, new structure, simple weekly rhythm, and a few clear metrics, they went from avoiding their finances to actually enjoying money meetings. Within 3 months, they had a clear cash forecast, paid themselves consistently, and finally had peace of mind. That's the power of resetting your foundations. It changes how you feel about your business, not just how it performs. If you're listening and realizing your numbers might be built on shaky ground, that's okay. You're not alone, and you're definitely not behind. So what I want you to do is just start small. Schedule a money meeting with yourself this week. Look at your profit and loss report and ask, does this make sense to me? If it doesn't, that's your sign you need to reset. You can't build stability on chaos, but when your financial foundations are strong, everything else gets easier. Your planning, your pricing, your peace of mind. Because thriving without sacrifice starts with clarity, and clarity starts with your numbers. In the next episode, we're going to dive deeper into how to optimize cash flow and what it really means to create a business that funds your life rather than draining it. Until then, keep thriving, but do it by design, not by default.